This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show. It is Friday, May 1st, 2020. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. We have a lot to talk about today. The lovely Lady Claire will be joining us in hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, answering the phones, ready to put you on the air with your comments, questions, observations, and opinions. And before we go any further, next week we're starting some new rules to get the phone situation back under control. And the rule is going to be for Monday through Thursday, okay? There will be no calls taken in the first hour of the show. We'll take calls in the second hour of the show. On Fridays, when Lady Claire is here with us, we'll take calls in the bottom half of each hour. So for the next 30 minutes, I'm not taking any calls. And then at the bottom of the hour, I'll start taking calls if I feel like it. One call per caller per day, one topic per caller per day. So that we don't have these people come in and talk about Joe Biden and they say, oh, one more thing. And then they go off into chemtrails or something like that. And speaking of chemtrails, this is a politics and science radio show. And so the kooky stuff we don't want to deal with. If they did an X-Files episode about it, it's not appropriate to talk about on the show. So let's get into things. The big news today is that Joe Biden finally broke his silence on the Tara Reade sexual assault allegations. And he's out there saying they aren't true. They never happened. If I had a stack of Bibles, I would put my hand on there and reassure that, you know, if it really happened, may God strike me a glancing blow. And then he went on to an interview in MSNBC's Morning Joe. And he's trying to basically repair the damage that has been done to the Me Too movement, whereas out there saying, well, you know, every woman has a right to be heard. And then it goes on to say, you know, but we shouldn't just automatically believe them, which, of course, was not what he was saying back when it was Kavanaugh who was in the crosshairs. So Joe Biden, apparently aware that people are concerned about his Senate records over at the University of Delaware, asked the National Archives to open his personal files, but still won't open his personal archive of his Senate years over at the University of Delaware. Now, the interesting thing is that some of Biden's campaign people accessed those sealed Senate records shortly after Biden's presidential campaign took off. So Biden's people have already been in there. Have the files been tampered with is the operant question here. And of course, if they have been tampered with, if items are missing, you know, the problem is Democratic leadership has botched this right from day one. As soon as Tara Reade got on air, what they should have done was say, yeah, it's an allegation. We have an allegation here. And Biden could have denied it, and then everybody shut up about it and just let it sort of die of old age. But now they've turned it into a cause celeb. Biden's prolonged silence, because the fact that he's out here denying it today, and Nancy Pelosi is out there saying that she's just absolutely satisfied with the way Biden is handling this situation. He waited way, way, way too long. And that cemented this in the minds of the voting public. Pulling that Larry King segment off of Google Play, that just made things worse. And so this is going to be a slow burn of a scandal between now and November. They're stuck with it. The Democrats are stuck with it. I don't know who their political strategist is. They're not very good. Whatever they're being paid, it's way, 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 way too much. Because they keep making these stupid mistakes. They really do. And because of past situations with, you know, Bill Clinton and the Kavanaugh hearings and Me Too and the rest of it, this idea that Biden groped this girl, you know, shoved his hand up her skirt and diddled about, if you will, that's going to resonate with a lot of people, especially the woman's vote. And other issues like, you know, the economy is going to be playing a factor in the November election. The rest of it, though, is a little too abstract. You know, we have possibly one of the biggest scandals in the FBI history unfolding right before us right now. We'll get into that in a minute. But it is abstract for those who don't pay attention to the FBI. And for those of us who know what the FBI is really like, it's like no big deal. They do this all the time. They've been doing it all. Go back and look at COINTELPRO. Look how they railroaded James Earl Ray. Look how they harassed and tried to intimidate Martin Luther King. You know, this is just business as usual, what Peter Strzok tried to do to General Flynn. It's what the FBI does. You know, fools, bumblers, and idiots, FBI. Anyway, apparently over at MSNBC, Chris Hayes has been devoting a lot of coverage to the Biden scandal. Bidengate, I guess we can call it. Go ahead and call it Bidengate. And it is getting a lot of media coverage all of a sudden because the corporate media is realizing that the independent media was covering this for about a month while they stayed silent. Now they're trying to make up for lost time. Say, see, we're covering the story. We're giving it the coverage it deserves. And, you know, we were there first, which is a blatant lie. So Chris Hayes is out there giving it a lot of coverage at MSNBC. And Democrats are saying, how dare you? How dare you dare to dare, to dare, to dare? They're demanding he be fired. And again, look at the contrast between what's going on with Biden and what's going on, what happened with Brett Kavanaugh and even Donald Trump himself. And look at how they're trying to protect Joe Biden the way they protected Bill Clinton. And you can, the hypocrisy is written there all in capital letters in 24-point type. Double standard. Moment 11. So one of the founders of the Me Too movement is out there actually on Biden's side on this thing, trying to say, well, yeah, we've got to hold him accountable, but he could still be elected just because he groped out his staffer. That's really no big deal. We'll hold him accountable for that. You know, bad, 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 bad. Joe Biden, don't ever let us catch you doing that again. And we're going to vote you into the presidency. Insane, just insane. All right, getting on back to Jeffrey Epstein. One of his victims, Maria Farmer, along with her younger sister, they were the first ones to blow the whistle to the FBI all the way back in 1996. And apparently in a recent interview with journalist Whitney Webb, they came on out naming what they describe as the head of the snake of the Epstein Network's operation in America. At this point, it's pretty obvious Epstein was an Israeli spy. His job was to entrap and blackmail the rich and powerful here in the United States of America. And apparently Israel billionaire Les Wexner was described as the head of the snake by Maria Farmer and her sister. So it was an intelligence operation. And the big question is now, where are all those files? Where are all those incriminating videos? Rich and powerful with underage young girls. Ted Cruz has come on out on the side of free speech, saying that YouTube and Google should not have the power to censor speech, particularly on critical issues of concern. Now, the context for his comment had to do with these two doctors in California who made a video talking about whether the lockdown was really necessary or even effective, and YouTube took them down, which has prompted a backlash. And again, that was the wrong thing to do. Just ignore it, it'll go away. Instead, when you go out there and you're actively seen as trying to block it, you're going to be in trouble here. The First Amendment is an absolute. The Cherry Sisters case established that legally in this country. The First Amendment applies to everybody and everything. If you are in a public space, which includes the internet, the First Amendment does apply. Or it applies to nobody. You don't have freedom of speech, you have permitted speech. Now, if you're over there on the East Coast, you may or may not have had a chance to see the Navy Blue Angels and the Air Force Thunderbirds do flyovers to honor the first responders. And don't get me wrong, I love the Blue Angels. I've seen them many times. I've seen the Thunderbirds. They used to come out to Hawaii and practice right over my house, actually, at one time. And it was great to watch and everything. But knowing what it costs to run the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds, would that money not have been better spent buying face masks and face shields for the first responders? We're hearing about all these critical shortages of face shields and masks, and yet the government can spend all this money for these flyovers. That's a lot of money. I mean, it's not like the people stop working, they don't get paid. They get paid anyway. But if you, I mean, just the fuel costs alone of getting these aircraft to where they're going to go, doing the flyovers, and then flying to wherever next it is they're going to do a flyover. I mean, they're going through more fuel on a single flight than you probably go through in an entire year in your car. Okay, so let's talk about coronavirus, COVID-19. Genetic studies are showing there was a variant of COVID-19 already in France before the virus arrived from China and Italy. So apparently it's been around for a little bit longer than people thought, and China may be off the hook as the source of it. Maybe it began someplace else and was taken to China. What virologists have found is the dominant types of COVID-19 in France differed from those that arrived from China or Italy and belonged to another group, or clade, they call them there. 5 major U.S. airlines are all going to require passengers to wear their masks, and that is Delta, American, United, Frontier, and JetBlue. So far, Southwest Airlines is the lone holdout among the nation's biggest airlines. Now, here in Indiana, as of today, the shelter-in-place order is rescinded, but masks are now mandatory in areas where social distancing is impossible. Claire's in the kitchen rattling the pots and pans. Okay, over in California, Governor Newsom's been getting into an argument with a lot of the beach communities, which rely on those beaches for tourism dollars and their economy. And he's closed them all, then he opened up some. Now he's threatening to close them all again. And Huntington City officials are considering the option of suing Governor Newsom over the order to close the beaches. Elon Musk is doubling down on his demands that people being given back their God-blank freedom. Apparently, his Tesla plant in California shut for another month, and he's calling the lockdown as fascist, and he's maintaining that and saying it's time for it to end. By the way, I was noticing on Fox News just before airtime here, there are major protests in many cities against the lockdowns. And in some cases, the people attending those protests are carrying arms. So it's getting linked with the Second Amendment movement, the freedom movement. I just hope nobody does something stupid, you know, that makes everybody look bad. Or that the government doesn't go on out there with a sniper and shoot somebody and say, it was them. It was those Second Amendment gun nuts. Now, several major big box retailers had walkouts today, this being May Day, Labor Day. Not our Labor Day, but it's Labor Day in other countries. And there were walkouts at stores like Walmart over the working conditions. Meanwhile, over at Costco, Costco is mandating that the shoppers, as well as the employees, wear masks. Don't get rid of those masks just yet. We have that here in Indiana. We're allowed to go back into the stores in reduced numbers, but we have to wear the mask. It's no longer an option here. Despite the COVID-19, employees in Texas and Iowa are told to get back to work or lose unemployment benefits. And the reason for that is it turned out, pardon me, that most people who were put on furlough because of COVID-19 were actually making more money off their unemployment benefits than they were off of their jobs when you subtracted out the gas to get to work and having to dress up and the rest of it. And they were really kind of liking that, maybe a little too much. So now Texas and Iowa are basically saying, look, if your job is there, go back to it, or we're going to cut off your unemployment benefits anyway. All right. Statistics are looking a little grim. 1 in every 3 coronavirus patients who go into the hospital never come out, and half of those on a ventilator die. There is still that issue if too much pressure in the ventilator is causing lung damage, causing blood clots to form, which can lead to strokes and heart attacks. Shouldn't be rushing this stuff. Really, really shouldn't it? Okay. So everyone's been talking about hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine or even just plain old quinine. Now they're focusing on remdesivir. And they're asking, is it really a wonder drug for coronavirus patients? And apparently there are 2 studies out now. One study says it has no benefit for the infected. There's another study that says it showed fantastic results. Clearly, they both cannot be right. Somebody somewhere is either incompetent or they're fudging the results. I'm going to take a wild guess here that the study that found fantastic results was funded by a pharmaceutical company that sells remdesivir. Remdesivir. Say that one 3 times fast. All right, in the international news, over in the South China Sea, the United States has sent yet another ship on a freedom of navigation operation. And they're just going to keep on poking China until China pokes back. It's very alarming that in the middle of all this COVID-19 and economic disaster that we are seeing the war machine moving forward relentlessly. Britain's £3 billion warship HMS Queen Elizabeth has set sail for an 8-week deployment despite 2 of the 700 crew on board being removed after testing positive for coronavirus. Turkey is vowing to defend the Tripoli-based government against Haftar dictatorship in Libya. Ankara Wednesday accused Eastern Libya's commander Khalifa Haftar of seeking to create a military dictatorship and vowed to defend the country's Tripoli-based government. Now, to clarify things for you right now, the Tripoli-based government is the, quote, internationally approved government of Libya, end quote. In other words, the government that the U.S. put together to throw in there after Gaddafi was killed. Only the people of Libya didn't want to live under puppet rule and basically drove these people from power. And leading the Libyan people to regain control of their country for the Libyan people is this Haftar. So anyway, Israeli helicopters have carried out attacks in southern Syria. Now, par for the course, Israel's always shooting at somebody here. This is an interesting story, though. This came out of unz.com. Apparently, there's an historian, and even more interesting, it's an Israeli historian, okay, discovered where that 6 million dead figure came from that we've been hearing relentlessly since the end of World War II. It was invented at a Zionist conference in 1944, more than a year before the war in Europe ended and a real census could be taken, and a year before the Red Army entered Auschwitz. Of course, we know where the 6 million figure comes from. It comes from a prophecy in the Hebrew religion, the Jewish religion, that after 6 million are lost, the Jews can return to the Holy Land. And that's why that number keeps cropping up over and over again. They were using it in World War I. 6 million Jews are suffering and starving and dying, and you've got to help us. They're running more commercials right now about, Passover, and we have these Holocaust survivors, and, they're just barely hanging on. Please send money. Well, what happened to all the money we've already sent to the Holocaust survivors? What about all the Holocaust reparations money? Where did that go? Well, administrative costs, and we had to get more paper for the computers and ink. You know what those ink cartridges cost. So we only had a few kopecks left over for the Holocaust survivors. That's why we need you to send more money. Okay. Well, this is Friday. The new rules don't apply till next week, so we're going to go ahead and take a phone call from Joe in Houston. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I just wanted to talk about the irony of ironies here, which is, we all remember all the outrage by the feminists and the women about Trump when he said, women will let you grab them by the pussy if you're famous and rich. And now we have Biden, who actually did grab him somebody by the pussy. And excuse the word, but I mean, that's what he said, and it's been vetted. And there's nothing. There's crickets. The same people, in my family too, that were always talk about Trump, the pea grabber, and
Joe,
how vile. Yeah.
Joe, stay on the line. Got to hold you over the commercial break. We'll be right back.
happening, ladies and gentlemen? We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN at hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it. As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have, do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
And welcome back to our show. We're talking with Joe in Houston, and we were talking about this comment that had been put forward that if somebody is rich and powerful enough, that women will let them get away with a quick grab. And I certainly saw a lot of that in Hollywood. I mean, you know, the girls were coming on to the producers and directors and casting directors. I even got hit on once myself by an actress, a particularly dumb one, because visual effects producers have no pull in the show. But it is a reality of life. As far as Biden is concerned, yeah, at the time he was a senator. And obviously the way he behaves, grabbing the staffer, and there's 7 other women who have now come forward to say he attacked them. Plus, we have all these videotapes of him inappropriately touching girls, women. So he obviously believes he can get away with this stuff.
Well, I guess in this world these days, if you support the feminist cause, you can rape and grab them by the pussy and do whatever you want. I mean, let's face it, that's what it's all about when it comes to feminism. It's about power. You know, one guy is all talk, Trump. He's just making a comment about the way it is, and it is true. If you are rich and powerful, you can grab the butt. The other one actually does the action, the crime, yet that's overlooked. I mean, all these women, they have those pink hats. Remember, there were 20 million of them walking around Washington. I'd like to see see him dust them off and wear them now and have a protest against Biden. And I'd like to see signs wherever Biden goes saying, "Hey, Joe, what are you doing grabbing him by the pussy?" But you won't see that because they're all hypocrites. And it all gets back to that. If he's our boy, he can do whatever he wants. Look at Willie Clinton, the rapist. I mean, same thing. So, I wanted to call you yesterday real quick about Flynn and a story about Flynn that's being overlooked by most of the media. I know you've talked about it, but I think the real story and the real interesting thing to watch for and to watch is going to be what's going to happen to that law firm, Covington, the one that Eric Holder sits on, that actually railroaded Flynn along with the prosecutor. They had a little backroom deal going on. Now, General Flynn is probably going to own that law firm, and hopefully he can sue the people that sit, like Eric Holder and a lot of other deep state, well-connected politicians. So the real story here, besides what's going to happen in the Justice Department, is what's going to happen. I mean, General Flynn will probably be a billionaire after this is all over. I mean, there's some real deep-pocket people that committed some serious crimes against him, and a law firm that will do that is really going to be up, creek. And something I want people to be aware of, to look for. It's a story that's kind of being ignored. And to me, it's almost as big of a story because when you hire legal representation, you don't expect them. I mean, that's against every code of law in the book for them to do what they did to General Flynn. But the deep
You've
state
obviously not
was
spent a lot of time with lawyers.
Well, I know, but to have them get caught,
True.
when they get caught,
Then they're not very good
lawyers.
lawyers.
Are usually smart. It's like that one guy, Priestep, writing notes. What kind of moron, do we have in the FBI that he would put that down on notes to begin with? He just basically wrote a note about the crimes that he was committing against General Flynn. So some people can be smart but have no common sense. I see a lot of that these days. And hope, like I said, it's something to watch for. I think their name is Covington. I don't know that's the name of any of the other partners. But anyway, I'll keep an eye on for these pussy hat protests. But I doubt we'll see any. So have a nice day, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Steve in West Virginia. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, I got a couple things for you. First, you had a caller. I'm not going to mention any names because I listened to the program and afterwards yesterday, but you got a caller yesterday or the day before that mentioned, the blue states, how prosperous they are. And I want to point out one thing. The blue states that represent the Northeast, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, they're only prosperous because of Wall Street. If you take Wall Street away from them, they're just like any other state. In fact, a lot of New York is very depressed. And
Yes.
Wall Street is completely parasitical. They don't create nothing. They create financial products. And, they're essentially what Jesus said. That's the money changers right there.
Yes.
And so they don't produce anything of value there. All they do, they make money by manipulating other money. And they're probably what's hurt the country more than anything, that's anything since I've been alive. That's the worst thing that's happened in the country is the financialization of the country. So
I would agree.
If that caller thinks that, that those areas, like you mentioned, they're cities, that's the reason why they're so great, but they're not so great. They're actually bad for the country. And what they're also a huge wealth transference vehicle. All they do is transfer wealth to a small group of people. So that's their main thing. I got two other things real quick.
Well, okay, Steve, we're going to hold you over this time. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
Is the Second Amendment your line in the sand? Is the United States Constitution important to you? Are you worried about gun confiscation? You need to join us for free at gunconfiscation.com. At gunconfiscation.com, you will meet like-minded patriots, get the latest Second Amendment news, and find anything you need to prepare for gun confiscation. Visit gunconfiscation.com today. That's gunconfiscation.com. Which side are you on?
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, I mean the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
All right, welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Steve in West Virginia. And again, Steve, this is the last day in which you're allowed to do more than one topic per call. So you said you had one or two more things to talk about?
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that. We'll just make it one more thing, and I'll remember that.
Okay.
And that's a good idea, by the way. No, the other thing is that you mentioned the other day that, yippee-yi-yay, that Trump is leaving Afghanistan. Well, it looks to me like he's leaving Afghanistan, but he's getting ready to invade Venezuela. And he's doing so under the false guise of drug interdiction and human trafficking. He's getting ready to go into Venezuela to steal their oil and take their gold and put a puppet government in. And the Q people, the QAnon people, all believe it's, for drugs and to save the children. I mean, I don't know how you can be that dense and gullible. But he's leaving. Apparently, he's going to leave Afghanistan, whether I believe it or not. And he's going to go into Venezuela and steal Venezuela's gold and remove Maduro and steal their oil. I mean, this is not right. This is bad. And a couple other your callers have made the lesser of two evils argument. And man, with the lesser of two evils argument, you're always moving. You may not move 3 steps back, but you're always moving. You're always moving backwards. You're never moving forward. And we gotta, we gotta do something about that. I mean, I don't know how we're going to defeat this, but it's got to happen.
Well, my concern is the way Pompeo's talking about wanting to declare no-fly zones over both Venezuela and Iran, and Claire's going to be covering that in hour number 2 in a little bit more detail. Anyway, Steve, thanks a lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Corey in Connecticut. Hello, Corey. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Michael. How's it going?
Going fine.
Benjamin Franklin once described democracy as 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
Yes.
Well, Michael, it seems to me that, at least in our current day and age, that democracy is more akin to a single wolf persuading a flock of sheep that eating lamb is good for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and I like it.
Benjamin Franklin also went on to say that liberty is a well-armed sheep contesting the vote. And to that I ask, aren't sheep those who willingly lay down their arms in preference of authoritarian leaders, no matter how tyrannical they might be, whom they believe will protect them?
Well, I would go back to the original Declaration of Independence, where it says that abusive governments are tolerated while evils are sufferable. But there does come a breaking point. And I think when I look at the protests that we're seeing right now in several cities about the lockdown orders, I think we've reached the insufferable point, because people are out there, they're losing their homes, they're losing their businesses. They're thinking about all the huge amounts of money that have been taken from them by the government throughout their lifetimes. And now that they are in trouble, what do they get? A $1,200 loan.
Yeah. I see that point.
It's a raw deal.
Yeah. One thing I like to mention, that maybe it's not as bad in Indiana where you are, but here in the Northeast, if I were to go to the supermarket and take off my mask, I won't be attacked by any tyrant. I will be attacked by an endless herd of sheep, getting trampled upon. So I fear the sheep more than I fear any tyrant.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Well, Claire and I haven't tried going into a place without the masks yet, and we're probably going to continue to wear them because I don't feel like, being trampled by the sheep.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that a lot of people just aren't wearing the masks anymore.
Yeah, that's good news for me. But here in Connecticut, it's a little bit worse, and there's a lot more sheep in Connecticut. I wish I lived, it was like more like Texas or even Michigan. They're protesting, but I don't see any protest here in Connecticut, unfortunately. Anyway, there's one thing I just wanted to mention on COVID-19.
Yes.
And that is all the statistics, they only include the number of people who've died of COVID-19. They don't include the total number of deaths. Now, here on the CDC website, I've noticed, at least in 2018, there is no data for this year, and there's no the data for 2019 is incomplete. But in 2018, in April, a total of 233,000 people died just in the month of April.
Yes.
If this data or trend were to be consistent, then, well, approximately 60,000 people died last month. So the total number of people who died last month in the United States in April should be approximately, somewhere between 290,000 and 300,000. So that's a piece of information that I wouldn't mind learning if you could come across it, or any of your listeners could come across that information, the totals, because then we could compare the COVID-19 death with the total number of deaths and see it, if they conform or are consistent with one another.
Well, my understanding is that deaths from non-COVID, or at least we're being told, deaths from non-COVID sources are actually quite a bit down. Total morbidity is down from 2019, 2018. And there are allegations that because of the financial incentives involved, people who are dying of things other than COVID-19 are being listed as victims of COVID-19. They die of the regular flu, it's COVID-19. They die in a car accident, it's COVID-19. They get eaten by a shark, it's COVID-19. Because the medical establishment gets more money if they have patients listed as COVID-19. They get a lot of money if they can get them onto a ventilator.
Yeah. Well, I bet that once the total number of deaths are reported, I don't think there will be much, if any, difference whatsoever. So in a sense, this pandemic, I really think is a hoax. And also, I wonder, of the 60,000 people that did die, purportedly, how many were treated with like hydroxychloroquine? How many were given the option to be treated with that? Which, tragically, some people, being put on a ventilator opposed to hydroxychloroquine is really that's really drastic.
It is drastic, but again, there's a financial incentive to do it. And most people, when they're, people put on ventilators, very few of them are coming off, without permanent lung damage.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. I mean, if it were like someone that I loved or cared about, I would definitely go for the lesser of, I would go with hydroxychloroquine, which, I'd be
go with
willing
oxygen therapy. Oxygen, the whole point is oxygenating the blood. Go with oxygen therapy. Anyway, Corey, we got a lot of callers and we're less than 20 minutes away from the Lady Claire joining us. So let's switch to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good day to you, Michael. Yeah, Michael, what's on my mind is the caller you had yesterday. He brought out a point about, and I want to talk about Flynn too for a second, but I want to talk about, the guy brought up the point that the numbers, there's 55% in New York. I think the guy's name is Jim from New York, saying 55% of the people, 55, 45. Yeah, he's right about everything he's saying. And those are the cities that are where the Democrats get their votes to basically win these elections. But, no matter what Donald Trump does for these people, Michael, if Donald Trump gave them $1 million, most of them will still vote Democrat. I mean, you got 85% of the Jewish population in New York, New Jersey, they're going to still always vote Democrat, no matter what Trump does. And all these other communities, a lot of these other minority communities, no matter what Trump does, they're still going to vote overwhelmingly Democrat.
Yes.
No matter, even if the Democratic Party's wrong, and I want him to understand that. No matter what Trump does about immigration, they're still going to vote against Trump. These blue states are going to stay blue because they want the free, 1, 2, free. And Trump is like saying, "Hey, man, no, what did he tell the Afro-American community? What do you have to lose with me?" And he's done a lot for them. But you know what? I think maybe amazingly, he might get 20, 25% of them. Amazingly, maybe. But I don't know. If Biden picks a female woman, I got it, Michael. And the same with the Jewish community. They're not in New York, New Jersey, all these states that have a population in them. I don't understand it. They're going to still vote overwhelmingly for the Democratic Party. And let me ask you this, Michael. How does Bernie Sanders...
hang on. There is unfortunately a reality in our society that people who strongly identify as Republican vote the straight Republican ticket no matter what. Then you've got the other side of the people who consider themselves Democrats so strongly that they'll vote the straight Democratic ticket no matter what. And both political parties keep an eye on those two factions, but they really focus on what are called the swing voters, which is about 1/3 of the population who will go backwards and forwards based on the issues and the personalities.
Well, exactly. And that's like I told you, like I've always been an independent registered voter. I'm not affiliated with any party. I'm an independent. I make up my own mind about the politic that be. And, it's just perplexing to me, like, Vermont, Bernie Sanders seems to keep winning these Senate elections, but they don't have another candidate they can throw out other than Bernie Sanders. And he took down his platform because everybody thought he's a communist. So the people in Vermont evidently love this guy, Bernie, but they sure didn't want him in the general election or be president. So, it's just perplexing to me. Now, getting back to Michael Flynn.
Let's go back to Michael Flynn.
I believe Michael Flynn's going to be exonerated Monday or Tuesday. I do believe he's going to win, like your one caller said, I believe he's going to get multiple millions of dollars. I really think Flynn's going to be really well taken care of. That's all I got to say about that.
All right. Well, Trump
And
is
I hope
already
that
dropping hints he's going to bring Flynn back into the administration. So thank you for the phone call, Tom. We're going to switch over to Dan in Washington State. Hello, Dan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, thanks for taking the call. Mike Flynn is a hawk on Iran, isn't he? I mean, I've
Yes.
heard he's a very. So I was for Flynn at first, but President Kushner, I'm not so sure about. I'm just going to start calling Trump President Kushner because he has him doing the peace deal. He has him handling the coronavirus. As far as I can tell. And I didn't want to. The red state blue thing is like Democrat versus Republican. If you just admit America's an oligarchy, like your last caller called in and criticized democracy. Well, a republic leads to oligarchy, which we have. So the republic thing failed a long time ago, probably before
Well,
the Civil
democracies can lead to oligarchies because as soon as you have a majority, the first thing they do is vote stuff away from the minority.
Well, but republic, so do oligarchy. I mean, it's an oligarchy now because it was a republic. I mean, republics lead to oligarchies. That's what we got. That's what a republic is.
I think you're oversimplifying. All governments tend towards oligarchy after time because the rich and powerful will corrupt the government to serve their own purposes.
Right. So I don't see why bash democracy. I'd rather have democracy than a republic where you just have turns into an oligarchy and you got a bunch of rich. Because remember, it was a slave plantation, half the country to begin with. So that's why republic works, because you have a big slave plantation. And that's mostly where the heritage of the red states comes from.
Now, I would be very careful about that because, the Southern Democrats grew up with that plantation issue. And, I mean, the Democrats were behind the KKK. It's something that the Democrats are trying to live down, but historically, they had a strong support for slavery.
But I think the Southern strategy, the Republican Party kind of took that over. And I don't mind, saying every group should have representation, including white people. And I think if we had that, it would break this whole red, blue, left, right paradigm. Because look, the Republicans, I called mostly for pension reform, because if you fix most of these blue states are going broke because the government workers have these huge pensions. And, if everything was rolled into Social Security, I think that would fix a lot of these problems. But
well, look how badly Social Security has been managed. I mean, starting in the Clinton years, they started, and remember, Clinton's a Democrat. Starting in the Clinton years, they started plundering the Social Security Trust Fund, taking the money that was being built up for the baby boomer retirement, and they spent it as general revenue. And that's where Bill Clinton got his magic federal budget surplus,
And Reagan did the tax cuts too, that, if you make over $100,000 a year, you don't longer pay into it. And that blew a hole in it too. And don't forget, Reagan passed the first amnesty. The whole conservative movement has basically been anti-working man. I mean, as far as it's against minimum wage, it's against Social Security. It's for it. They pretend like they're against illegal immigration, but they always stab you in the back. You always get a Paul Ryan, a John McCain, Lindsey Graham. They're always in there making sure that nothing ever really happens on immigration, except more immigration, because they want to go back. Basically, the slave plantation mentality is there. If you get rid of Social Security, get rid of minimum wage, and have a flood of immigrants in, it's just going to be a third world like Mexico, basically. So, that's. But anyway, but the Democrats, on the other hand, just blame everything on the white man, and they're for open borders lately too. And they're, I think. They haven't been for working people either. They're for the same oligarchs. So it's just, they're both doing the same thing, I guess is my main point. And it's an oligarchy.
What was your main point? Well, you're right. They're both doing the same thing because this whole Republican versus Democrat, red versus blue is an illusion that is designed to give the American people the impression they still have some kind of choice moving forward. But the reality is we are an oligarchy. We're no longer a capitalist society. We've gone fascist. And this whole circus of red versus blue. I mean, just look at the quality of the people they have as candidates, to be the puppets in the Oval Office. And Biden being a good example of that. It's ridiculous. It's all for show to convince ordinary Americans that by going to a voting booth, they still have some control over the future course of this nation. And unfortunately, those days are long gone.
Exactly. And I voted for Trump, and I thought a lot of us did because he was more populist. He wanted to actually pretend like he was for. He didn't want to get rid of Social Security, is what he said, and he wanted to. And he was talking in terms of wages, like, hey, if we stop immigration,
Dan, we're going to have to let you go. I got to take a break for commercials, and I got a raft full of phone calls I need to get through before the Lady Claire. So we'll be back after these few words.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine, great for heart palpitations. By Ann, before I started using this product, every afternoon, my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc, I love this product. It really works. By Brad, works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Welcome back to our show here. We've got 3 more callers that we need to get through before the lovely Lady Claire. But before we take those calls, got an interesting little email here I want to read to you. Had my new neighbors over last night for cocktails. Both are in government. One is with the post office and the other is in the prison system, not a convict, a guard. Had the opportunity last night to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. The prison guard's response, quote, "It is common knowledge in the prison system that the CIA came in and told the guards to go take a break. Epstein was taken out of the prison. He is very much alive. Those in the prison system, employees, know the truth. Epstein is alive." So just cogitate on that one for a while. Back to the phones to Gil in Arizona. Hello, Gil. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, long-time listener. I don't call in very often because I guess my 80 years of age does not allow me to articulate the politics I'd like to, but you've got some great callers. Peter made a great suggestion, and I believe you're going to go with it. As far as the news for the first hour, referring to Dustin in New Jersey, he's a great caller, and so is Tom and Peter and all those guys. However, I think Dustin's missing a point. I don't surf the internet. I've got a Wi-Fi radio that's battery operated, and I carry it around the house from room to room and listen to the news while I'm cleaning house or doing whatever. Then when I go next door to my shop, I've got an Alexa, and I listen to your show. So we don't all look at, Zero Hedge or whatever for the news. So I like your perspective on the news for the first hour. And the callers are great, but, I really do think that I'd like to hear the news first because I really don't go to the mainstream media. And, it's just a great idea that you're going to go with the first hour with no calls. So I'll probably won't call in again. But anyway, one of the other things I want to ask you, since this is my last opportunity, I had sent you some Palestinian stamps.
Oh, I've got those.
One of the things that, yeah, I know you did, and I appreciate your very kind response. The other thing that I didn't know whether you knew this or not, my dad had given me his stamp collection when I was 13 years old in 1953. And also included was some, which I never realized until I looked at my old stamp collection, there was some Hawaii stamps. Hawaii issued stamps before it became a state. And I thought you might find that interesting.
You may want to take a very careful look at those because some of those things are worth huge amounts of money.
Really?
Really?
Well, I will. And I've got, worldwide stamps. Unfortunately, I didn't have many Palestinian stamps, but I do have Hawaii stamps. And at my age, the money isn't going to mean a whole lot. But in any case, I'll look at them, and if I have them, if you're interested in them, I'd be glad to send them to you.
Well, I appreciate that, and if one of them's worth a lot of money, I don't care how old you are, I'll send half the money back.
Well, no, I wouldn't want that, but I hear the music, and thanks a lot. Enjoy your show, and stay with the first hour, news only. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We got to take a break for station identification. We have 2 callers waiting on the line, followed by the lovely lady Claire.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
The Republic Broadcasting Network late night premiere show of Red Pill Hardcore is hosted by activists that want to hear from you, the listeners. So that you can get involved in the activism, please call in at 800-313-9443 at 10 p.m. to enter the discussion. To book yourself as a guest, call our studio at 202-657-5715 or contact RBN staff Remember, keep it real and take the red pill.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And welcome back to our show here, hour number 2. We're going to take 2 more phone calls, and then it'll be time for the lovely Lady Claire and her unique perspective on the world. So let's go to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Mike? Hey, by the way, I'm going to check with some of the people I used to work for at the prison here in Texas, see what they say about this. But I was suspicious of Epstein's either a murder or case. But anyway, I'm on my way home today. I was listening to the radio side. Let me listen to a little main corporate radio talk. I was listening to that fool Sean Hannity. He had some guy calls himself a Dr. Oz or something like that.
Yes.
And they were getting the whole establishment line, how you should wear a mask, how you should, social distance and lock yourself in. Okay, nothing about the immune system, how it's affected. Nothing about wearing a mask is very detrimental. I was about to start wearing a mask until I start seeing some really great doctors on the net, mostly like a Dr. Erickson, Dr. Buttar, people like that, who said, all you're doing with that mask is you're breathing in, you're supposed to breathe out carbon dioxide, and you're breathing it right back in. You're hurting the immune system, not to mention other diseases that might be coming in. It is harmful. I see these fools. Sometimes I saw a woman driving with a mask on yesterday. I mean, how stupid can you be? Fact of the matter is, these things are harmful. They're not helping. They're not preventing any disease from coming out. And if anything, you're getting yourself more likely to be sick and compromise your immune system. The same thing as locking yourself in your house. All you're doing is you're staying away from sunlight, which is best disinfectant known to man, I think. You're just being played for a fool. These people want you sick. The same thing with, like we were saying before about these, what do you call it again? The infiltrate with the machines you put to breathe.
The ventilators.
Ventilator, yeah. When you put yourself in a ventilator, I mean that's almost a death sentence, and yet they're getting money to put people in ventilators. They're murdering people, Mike.
Yep.
And then on top of that, these crooks are getting like $39,000 to declare somebody dead of a CV death. You know?
Yes.
I mean, this is corruption to the highest degree, and it makes you really wonder, what are these people up to? Everything we suspect about the Gates and Fauci and all these clowns seems to be true. They don't want to help us. They don't want to make us better. They want to make us sick. They want to kill us. They want to sterilize us. And that's what it is. By the way, I hope you watched. I really did a couple of real good YouTube.
Hello?
One today where I got. Hello, you there?
Yeah, it sounded like you dropped off for a second.
Oh, yeah. I made a couple of real, including one today. I attacked another radio show, by the way, on the net, Fault Lines, because they've totally compromised themselves. They banned me today from either calling or commenting on their comment lines, all right? And it's one guy that's out of control, the former Breitbart reporter by the name of Lee Stranahan.
Yes.
He's totally out of control. He wants to give the establishment line on CV. He's not even his partner is taking him on that. He don't want to hear anything. And now, like I said, I got banned. I'm sure a lot of other people got banned, and they're not allowing certain guests that they used to have on. And I just want to let people know about that. But anyway, Mike, that's it. All right. Anyway, say hello to Lady Claire for me, okay?
Well, she's already listening right now, and thank you for the phone call.
Hi, Lady Claire.
We're going to take one more phone call from Steve Elkins. Steve, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, your caller is correct about these masks. You are retaining some CO2, and CO2 is your driving force to breathing. And unless you're a COPD, that would be just the opposite. A low PO2 is your driving force to breathe. But you are retaining some CO2, no doubt about it, with those masks. And it's interesting, the last couple of days, I've noticed that the mask is going lower and lower. It's not on the nose anymore. It's actually just over the mouth. And sometimes it's used for a harness to hold up the turkey gobbler on some of these older people. But it is kind of funny. The mask is slowly making its way down, and soon, hopefully, it'll be coming off. But that's what I called in about. I called in because I was starting to think about what was on the radar and what's off the radar now prior to the COVID-19 virus, and that we were talking a lot about the lung damage from vaping. And I just kind of wondered how many of the youth that actually did pass away, if they actually were vapors, and that, of course, that would have underlying health problems there. That would be a lung impairment. So I would like to know, I wish somebody in the medical field, I mean, I don't see vapors. I really don't. I see hardly ever. I don't think I've seen one yet. They've never made it in. But the point being, that would be a underlying health history there, a lung impairment. So introduced into the COVID-19, well, they wouldn't probably do very well because they're already low oxygenated and lung impairment. So I was just kind of wondering about that. Another thing I was thinking about was the flu vaccine itself. There's some conflicting evidence there. I'm not sure where to go with this one on, but people were saying that if you've taken the flu vaccine, that you could get a false positive. We're seeing lots of false positives. My wife told me yesterday a whole bunch of false positives are coming in. So the testing is not perfected. There's a lot of money being made on the testing, but there is no reliability. There doesn't appear to be much reliability. I guess the question I'd have is, with the flu vaccine, how many people got the flu vaccine, still got the flu, and then shortly after were exposed to the COVID-19 virus, which means they were still fighting off the flu, trying to repair their body, but then were exposed now to the COVID-19. That makes a huge difference if you think about it, because the regular flu takes quite a bit out of you, and then introduced into something new, well, you're not going to have very good success. So I think there's anybody who's working on their master's for their thesis, this might be something really good to research. The variables of this virus here and the deaths, the actual true number of deaths. I'm hoping when it's all said and done, because we know the number's been padded so much, and I've always said the second wave was about padding it even more so to reach the flu numbers or surpass flu numbers, because then they can actually call it a pandemic. But I hope that somewhere down the line we'll break this down and find out the actual true numbers, because this thing has been padded and greatly exaggerated.
Well, I mean, it's classic epidemiology, and but you're right. Getting accurate numbers is almost impossible. Everybody's going from models, which are basically computerized guesses, and it may be years before we actually have reliable, accurate data. Anyway, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Steve Elkins. Steve, welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Oh, that was Steve.
Yes, that was Steve.
That was Steve. My mistake. Okay, we're going to close the phone lines until 4:30. And pardon me, that little faux pas there. So Claire, what is your first story?
Well, I read this rather early this morning in Zero Hedge. It's another blog that I very much encourage our readers and listeners to look at. And the headline was, Pompeo demands countries block airspace to Iran's terrorist airlines after Venezuela deliveries. Apparently, the U.S. is again going on the offensive against Venezuela, and this time attempting to break the growing relationship between Iranian and Venezuelan mutual assistance between Tehran and Caracas. The so-called rogue states recently targeted for U.S.-imposed regime change are now helping each other fight coronavirus, as well as Washington-led sanctions. And specifically, Tehran has ramped up cargo deliveries related to getting Venezuela's derelict oil refineries fully operational. Now, Secretary of Mike Pompeo, in new statements, has called on the international allies, Mike, to block airspace specifically for Iran's Mahan Air, currently under U.S. sanctions, and which has in recent days delivered cargoes of unknown support to the Venezuelan government, according to Pompeo's words. Now, last week, it was revealed that Venezuela received a huge boost in the form of oil refinery materials and chemicals to fix the catalytic cracking unit at the 310,000 barrels a day Cardon refinery, which is absolutely critical, Mike, to the nation's gas production.
Well, the cracking facility, that's the big tall tower with
Yeah.
the pipes coming out of the side,
Right.
where the raw petroleum is fed in, and
Mhm.
it tends to stratify.
Right.
And so they pipe out different things like kerosene, jet
Mhm.
fuel, and so forth
Yeah.
At those different levels. And
Right.
at the very, very top of it is the natural gas,
Right.
which is why they put the little flaming, they burn off the excess methane
Yeah.
at that point.
Right. And repair of that refinery was considered essential to domestic gas production, and the shortage of which has recently driven a lot of, excuse me, let me let you do this.
Yeah, let me-
I'm so sorry.
There you go.
Okay. Driven unrest amid general food and fuel shortages, particularly in the rural areas. The sanctions against Venezuela that the U.S. has imposed they've been life-altering
Yes.
to an economy that was already kind of on its knees, if you will, and on the ropes. And I know that the current administration is hoping that what they're doing is going to be the coup d'etat. But we need to get a little further into the story. Apparently, Mahan Air is considered to have close ties to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, and its deliveries to Caracas are expected to continue. Now, Mike, when I read this article, the first thing that happened was I just had this emotional response and logical response. Oh, holy crud, Pompeo is attempting to pull another Libya
Yep.
toward Iran and Venezuela. Now, we need to go back to 2011 and to the military intervention by the US and NATO in Libya. And on 19 March 2011, a multi-state NATO-led coalition began a military intervention of Libya. Now, that was supposedly to implement UN Security Council Resolution 1973 in response to events during the Libyan civil war. The UN's intent and voting was to have an immediate ceasefire in Libya, including an end to the current attacks against civilians, which it said might constitute crimes against humanity, and they imposed a ban on all flights in the country's airspace. What do we call that? A no-fly zone. Is any of this starting to sound familiar, guys out there listening and looking at the website? And it tightened sanctions on the Muammar Gaddafi regime and its supporters. Now, American and British naval forces fired over 110 Tomahawk cruise missiles, and whereas the French force and British Royal Force and Canadian Air Force undertook sorties across Libya and a naval blockade by coalition forces. French jets launched airstrikes against Libyan army tanks and vehicles. The intervention did not employ foreign ground troops. Now, the Libyan government response to the campaign was totally ineffectual, with Gaddafi's forces not managing to shoot down a single NATO plane, despite the country possessing 30 heavy SAM batteries, 17 medium SAM batteries, and 55 SAM. And by the way, that acronym is Surface
Air Missile.
Air Missile. Okay. A total of 450 launchers, including 130 to 150 2K-12 Kub launchers and some K-33 OSA launchers and 400-600 short-range air defense guns. Now, the official name of the interventions by the coalition member are Operation Harmattan by France, Operation Ellamy by the United Kingdom, Operation Mobile for the Canadians, and Operation Odyssey Dawn for the United States. Now, Italy didn't want to play along originally, but then offered to take a part in the operations on the condition that NATO took the leadership of the mission instead of individual countries, particularly France. Now, as this condition was met, Italy shared bases and intelligence with the allies. What does all this mean in 2020?
It means Italy didn't want the United States getting all the goodies.
That's right. But I would also like to remind you of the very sober and thoroughly terrifying observation. Those who do not understand history are pretty much doomed to repeat it. And I'm afraid, Mike, this is what we're looking at. Libya lies in ruins today and still suffers from the horrifically violent upheaval of a civil war which has raged across the country from this military intervention in 2011 well into today in April of 2020.
May
2020. I'm behind by one day, forgive me. So I have to ask, Mike, and I'd like your thoughts on this. Could NATO actually be talked into such a monstrous reality yet again?
Yes.
And could they be demanded / cajoled by Pompeo in creating another no-fly zone coupled with a no-sail zone over Iran and the Persian Gulf, while OAS, which is the Organization of American States, is also cajoled or commanded to do the same thing to Venezuela?
Is this a trick question?
No. Now, one thing we have to remember, Venezuela left the OAS in April of last year because they said that President Trump was actually running over member states. And unfortunately, I'm afraid
He's right.
he was right.
Yep.
And Mike, I'd like your thoughts on how Russia is going to react if such a thing happens, because Russia has told Iran right out there in public summer of last year that if Iran is hit, Iran will not be alone. Your thoughts?
Well, you said it exactly. If
Yeah.
the U.S. attacks Iran,
Mhm.
Russia's going to come into Iran's side.
Mhm.
They'll probably play the same game that works so well in Syria, which is
Yeah.
a war of attrition.
Yeah.
Because that's what cost us Vietnam. It simply
Yes.
dragged on too long.
Mhm.
That's what's cost us Afghanistan.
Yep.
It's simply dragged on too long, and
Mhm.
the people get tired of it.
Yeah.
And Russia openly stated that if this came to a battle over the Mideast, that was going to be their strategy. They weren't
Mhm.
going to go force on force
Mhm.
and try and destroy the American Army and Air
Right.
Force. They
Mhm.
were simply going to grind them down slowly from the edges
Yep.
in a war of attrition.
So, folks, I think we are about to be introduced to an alleged new axis of evil. Now, I would encourage everyone to examine those claims very logically before you jump on the bandwagon here and say, heck yes, let's go to war with Venezuela and Iran. They're colluding like twin halves of an evil empire. Now, Venezuela may not be very useful in a long-term geopolitical firefight, but Iran is. And as you said, Russia's strategy would be to attempt to make any potential U.S. invasion of Iran another Vietnam. And the longer I live, the more I understand that both the US government and the military in this country have a very hard, almost pathologically difficult time
Yeah.
of learning from when they mess up. Intelligent countries, intelligent militaries learn from when they mess up, and they try very hard not to do the same thing over and over again. And I would like to hope that some adults in the room in our military are talking to President Trump, talking turkey to him, and saying, I would not advise this route to go were I you, Mr. President. Very respectfully, we have a lot of very excellent people, seasoned people in our military, especially the high command. And I am hoping and praying that people in these positions are going to counsel President Trump against this, because, Mike, we're looking at an oncoming disaster. And that's not going to save Trump the election in any way, shape, or form.
No, if he goes to war before the election, that's
Mhm.
going to work against him.
Yeah. You know, I wish I could see this as otherwise, but 20 and 21st century US history and logic forbid me from seeing what I see as the facts on the ground in any other than this way.
Okay, well, I absolutely agree.
Mhm.
And you would think that based on what happened in Afghanistan, 18-year war,
Mhm.
that we're clearly losing.
Yeah.
Syria, which we clearly are
Lost,
losing.
yeah.
Iraq, which we haven't exactly won.
No.
But unfortunately, the thinking in Washington, D.C. is we've gone far too great a distance down the path.
Mhm.
We can't simply turn around and return to status quo ante.
And the thing that most people don't know when we talk about the winner in Iraq was actually China.
Yes.
China last fall inked development deals which enabled the Chinese government to come in and develop the oil, also develop the infrastructure that's been bombed back to the Stone Age.
And of course, that was a big part of how the U.S. expected to make money off the Iraq
yeah.
War. We're going to go in, bomb your country, then you hire us to build it back up again. We got to take a break for commercials. We will be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
Welcome back to our show here, and a reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network and WhatReallyHappened.com are in a perpetual fundraising frenzy. And the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. And now back to the Lady Claire.
Yes, apparently the yuan crashed after Trump weighed blocking retirement fund access to Canadian stocks as war. of
Chinese
words.
stocks.
Yes, Chinese stocks. I'm sorry. As
We're gonna get mail from the Canadians on that
I
one.
am sorry. As the war of words escalates.
I could make the words bigger.
No, thank you. Apparently, having tumbled yesterday on the first set of headlines reporting on Trump administration's plan to seek COVID reparations,
Good luck.
Mike, how in the world does President Trump and his administration think that's going to happen?
They're going to go to court. They're going to get a court decision that says, yes, China owes us all this money. Go and get it.
Then how
And-
are we going to go and get it? I
Well,
mean,
we
this
probably
is insane.
we probably won't. I mean, look at all the court decisions saying that Iran was responsible for 9/11,
Yeah.
and no other country on earth is going to enforce seizure of their
Uh-huh.
funds.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, apparently there have been accusations of Chinese meddling in the U.S. election. Obviously,
The Russians are
not.
off the hook.
Yeah.
Putin, you can sleep soundly tonight.
Oh, I think the gentleman does sleep soundly of exhaustion most of the time. And apparently, the yuan was dramatically lower in this evening's illiquid session, which sees most of Asia closed for May Day, after Bloomberg reported that Trump is exploring blocking government retirement funds from investing in Chinese equities, considering it a national security risk. Mike, your thoughts on this? Hello.
Well, this is just another way of poking China in the eye,
Uh-huh.
along with those repeated incursions into the South China Sea.
Yep.
And you sort of have this question for collective Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
Do you really think, considering how things are going in Afghanistan and Syria and Iraq, do you really think you're ready to take on the entire rest of the planet?
Mhm.
Because they're out there making stink face now at Iran, at Venezuela, at China, at Russia, and especially those last two. We do not want to mess with them.
No.
Because even if we win, we lose. It will be a
Yes.
Pyrrhic victory.
Yes. Pyrrhic victory indeed. And I would like to add a little note. If anyone from the President Trump administration is listening or listening to the rebroadcasting, I volunteer to the Trump administration to be the director of their Department of Peace at $1 a month. And you know what I will do? I will show this administration ways to get where they want to without firing a shot.
Well, where's the fun in that?
It's not a question of fun.
Well, why do you think I'm in government service? I'm here to have fun. I'm here to have wild parties. I'm here to grab the undergarments of my staff workers.
Oh, look, I have a great deal of respect for our military, and I do not want to see one more American military put into harm's way because of bad decisions and bad decision makers in the civilian part of this government. I don't want to see it anymore at all.
Well, unfortunately, the attitude of the higher ups is best expressed by Henry Kissinger, who said military men are just dumb, stupid pawns to be used, for foreign policy. And that's his attitude. Just, they're there to be used and thrown away.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, I remember when Donald Rumsfeld was complaining that too many American soldiers were
We're
surviving
surviving.
their battlefield injuries.
That son of a
And they're-
biped?
That spreadsheet was out there saying, we can afford this war if this
Yeah.
many people, this percentage of wounded people die before they get to Ramstein.
And don't get care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So completely inhumane to people who have pledged their lives to this country. I have a real hard time with that, Mike.
I do too, but
Yeah.
but that is in fact what came down.
Okay, yeah. But I would like to hope that if anyone from the Trump administration or any of their minions are listening, I'm available. I'm easy to find. I'll do this. $1 a month, guys. Let's move in a different direction. So many Americans are so ready for this.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. The World Health Organization.
Is cutting 80% of humanitarian aid to war-torn Yemen right at the moment when COVID-19 is emerging.
It's all about the timing.
Oh, man. They're going to impose drastic cuts in humanitarian aid in Yemen this week, and it's a move that follows Trump administration's slashing of funds for Global Health Agency.
So we get tit for tat.
Oh, man. She said WHO is expected to spend about 80% of its funding for Yemen's hospitals, primary health care, and other healthcare needs. And Mike, I've got 4 words for this move. Genocide 3. Genocide writ large.
Actually,
angry.
I have one word: petty.
Yeah.
This is Donald Trump punishing WHO because of WHO's supposed bias toward China, and who has to make up the shortfall someplace. So they go after Yemen, not realizing that actually helps Trump's agenda. All right, we're going to open up the phone lines at this point, and we'll be back after these few commercials.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome back to our show. Here we're going to take a phone call now from Ray in Indiana. Hello, Ray. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Yeah. Well, the governor is in the process of reopening, so I was all prepared to go protest tomorrow, but since he made the announcement, did you get my picture I sent from protest costume last week?
Yes, I did.
It was a big hit. Yeah. Everybody seemed to like it. I was trying to do something a little lighthearted, but make people think. I wasn't out there trying to piss anybody off. Well, anyway, I just wanted to check in with you and see, so have you had a chance to go over any of the governor's speech?
Not in detail. We were listening to it on the radio a little bit earlier. I mean, we got the fact that we can now have mass gatherings of up to 25 people. The shelter-in-place order is rescinded, but the wearing of masks is now required if you go into a place where social distancing is impossible.
Right. But it looks like the restaurants will be up 50% for Mother's Day, which is a big hit for everybody. And I know several restaurant owners, and they were worried about losing Mother's Day because they lost Easter. Easter was a big day, and they lost that. So I hadn't had a chance to talk to them yet. Like I said, it just happened today. But I think they'll be happy with that, and hopefully we'll be all 100% by July 4th is what he's saying. So I'll give him a little credit. He did it in steps, and he's making a step in the right direction. I wish it, could go a little faster, but we'll see what happens.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thanks again. And thanks for your time. You have a great show. Keep it up. Take care.
Right.
And you too, Claire. Good
Thanks
seeing
so
you.
much.
Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you for the phone call.
Yeah.
And we're going to go back to Claire, and you have a story ready to go.
Oh, I do. Apparently, China's Belt and Road partners are begging Beijing for bilateral buyouts. And apparently, China's partners are cash
Bailouts.
I'm sorry, on their Belt and Road initiative. It's a global development project, and these people have been begging Beijing for debt relief amid the coronavirus pandemic. According to the Financial Times and according to Chinese policy advisors, the Xi regime is considering several options, including suspending interest in payments on loans from the country's financial institutions. However, outright, they're not forgiving the debts. Now, Mike, my observation on this isn't just a bump in the road. It may become the mother of all potholes. What do you think?
It could very well be, but
Yeah.
when you mount a project of that scale, keeping it to the original estimated cost is always very difficult. I mean, Panama Canal is a good example of that. And so China wants this Belt and Road. And so they're financing it, but the other nations involved in the partnership, it is costing them a lot, and the debt is piling up. And just like ordinary people, this coronavirus shutdown, the debt keeps accruing, even if you're not working on it and paying on it. It just keeps growing and growing and growing,
Yeah, it sort of has its own appetite that just cannot be quelled,
Yep.
just cannot be quelled. There is another very interesting aspect to Cuba's science and medical community. Now, I don't know how many of you know this, but we know a gentleman who we've met, George. And George was on the police in Canada and wound up having to have some rotator cuff shoulders and some hip replacements. And guess where Canada sends their police to have this done? Cuba.
Yep.
Because they do such a brilliant job of it.
George, next time you go, bring me back some cigars.
Yes. And take care and be safe. Now, what Cuba has done has been to develop what is called interferon. Now, the Cuban biotech industry has offered its own tool to fight the coronavirus disease. Dr. Manuel de Monta, who is one of the founding fathers of Cuba's biotech, has explained how the island nation has mastered itself in producing interferon, which is a drug chosen by a number of countries to treat COVID-19. And amid the media buzz about hydroxychloroquine.
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yes, I will never say this correctly.
Say
Sorry.
it 3 times fast.
I can't.
Hydroxychloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, hydroxychloroquine. Okay.
Thank you, dear. Which is an anti-malarial drug lauded by Donald Trump as a potential cure. Recombinant interferon remains neglected despite being one of the medicines that's been proven effective in curbing the Chinese pandemic. Mike, why is that?
Well, because interferon's been around for a while,
Yeah.
and I don't know who owns the patent on it.
Yep.
But obviously, companies that don't own the patent on it don't want it used as a treatment for COVID-19. They want to come up with something brand new, patentable, to give them market exclusivity so they can charge whatever they feel like charging for a treatment.
Yeah.
Past a certain point, drugs are allowed to be made generic.
Yes.
And at that point, the profit drops on them.
Oh, yeah.
So the race is on not to find a cure for COVID-19, but to find a brand new cure for COVID-19 that is patentable, and then bribe the corporate media establishment to say, this is what you need. Don't go with quinine, don't go with hydroxychloroquine, don't go with this other stuff here. This is the only one. Anytime you see a story on the TV news that says, this thing is bad and ineffective, but there's a new improved one that's going to work for you, they're being paid by the people who make the new and improved one.
Yeah. And when you're going to be treated for something, once you get a diagnosis, it's not a bad thing to ask, what are the older drugs that are being used to treat this right now that have a track record of being safe and effective? I think that's something we all need to do. Moving over to the UN, Russia is opposing a U.S. bid to extend the Iran arms embargo. Now, they're pushing to extend it past the time it's supposed to extend, and 90% of members of the House have sent a letter backing the idea and encouraging the administration to seek the extension diplomatically at the UN, courting all allies and like-minded partners. Do we have one on this issue, Mike? That's
well, no, we really
unclear.
don't. And both Russia and China have come on back and said that, why are you even talking about this? You pulled out of the Iran nuclear treaty. And the United States has now taken the incredibly bizarre position that they are still part of the treaty, even though Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew from it. And therefore, that they have something to say about extending the arms embargo past October.
It's insane because Russia is believed to be planning to sell defensive arms to Iran once the expiration is in effect. And Russia has said that they've communicated their position to the U.S. a while ago, and a Russian veto would preclude any resolution to extend the embargo.
Oh, gosh darn those Russians, they never let us have any fun.
I know, doggone it. Apparently, the UN sanctions end Monday, 23 October. Now, that would give the United States precisely 11 days to, quote unquote, do something to prevent Iran from getting weapons from any other country before the election, which is our election, which is Tuesday, the 3rd of November.
Yeah, this is May.
Yes, I know. If something is going to happen here, my bet, and Mike, I need your thoughts on this, would be that it's going to be long before October.
Well, again, the formal embargo ends in October. Anything that happens before that, the U.S. is going to scream bloody murder and say you're in violation of the embargo, you're in violation of the treaty, so forth and so on. So, there's going to be about 11 days. But I'll tell you right now, especially that close to the election, if the U.S. starts another war someplace, it's going to work against all the incumbents, not just Donald Trump.
I agree.
We're sick and tired of war.
Yeah.
We've had enough.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bring our kids home.
Yeah. I mean, there are some kids who
alive.
Yes. I would say 19 years old. They've never known a time when America hasn't been at war with someone. In fact, several countries.
Actually, I'm coming up on being 68, and I don't remember a time when the U.S. wasn't at war with somebody.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It's a little depressing.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Moving over to the EU, you're on your own. Apparently, Dutch PM Rutte says there should be no COVID-19 bailout for Italy and Spain. Now, apparently, the top management in the EU is attempting to agree on a COVID-19 rescue package for the worst affected member states, including Italy and Spain. But apparently, Dutch PM Mark Rutte publicly reaffirmed his view on the matter to a concerned voter. No. Rutte was approached on Wednesday by a worker at a waste collection plant who implored, please, do not give the Italians and Spanish the money. And Rutte complied, saying, no, responding in a comment captured by news cameras, adding that he would take note of the request, all the while offering thumbs up to the workers. Now, Mike, forgive me, but if the EU is going to hold itself harmless and indemnify itself against any financial aid for members who have been horribly affected by COVID-19, can anyone please tell me what the advantage is for a European country to be part of the EU?
Well, those
that's
are
a head scratcher.
There are two different issues at work there. First of all, most of the European countries are starting to say, no, there's no advantage to being part of the EU. In fact, it's more downside than upside. But the reason Italy and Spain are being singled out is because they are seen as having mishandled the coronavirus crisis and made a lot of mistakes. And so that's why people are saying we shouldn't be paying them because they handled it poorly.
Yeah. But where was the EU leadership when all of this was happening? It was nowhere.
Well, no, the EU was issuing all kinds of dictums and
Yeah.
guidances for COVID-19, most of which were viewed as possibly making matters worse rather than better.
Yeah.
And so here's where the friction that is already building between the EU member states and Brussels is starting to show itself, because the member states were saying, no, this is our matter. We're gonna take care of this. And they're all pulling at the leash, and we're already hearing that Italy may be the next one to leave the EU.
Italexit.
Yes.
Okay. Apparently, now we have, incontrovertible evidence that the FBI lied, hid evidence, covered up state of disorder. Now, notorious for failing in its duty to thwart terrorist attacks, the FBI is under fire again, this time from a bipartisan group of U.S. senators who want the beleaguered law enforcement agency investigated for major abnormalities involving evidence in a terrorist case. Known for its corrupt method of operation, the FBI evidence critical to a pending Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act, JUSTA lawsuit, brought about by families of 9/11 victims. 2 years ago, FBI received a civil subpoena in the case, and the lawmakers believe the agency has committed numerous violations and may be trying to conceal that its investigative files are in a state of disorder. Gee.
FBI, fools,
yes.
bumblers, and idiots.
Oh, Lord. Now, Mike, when I'm looking at this, I'm appalled, but I'm not shocked. But for the current iteration of the FBI, such horrific, ethicless behavior has become absolutely the new normal.
Well, it's nothing new about that. Does the name Randy Weaver ring a bell?
Oh, very much.
Okay. Or
Yes.
Waco, Texas.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
COINTELPRO.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or James Earl Ray.
Oh, Lord.
Or Leonard
Yes.
Peltier.
Yes.
Okay.
All the way back.
All the way back. This is what the FBI does.
Yeah.
And to those of us who studied the FBI, there's nothing surprising about either
No.
this case or the Michael Flynn case.
Yep.
This is what the FBI does and how they've operated throughout the years.
Yep.
They're not the heroes made out on TV. They go to great lengths to have themselves portrayed as heroic on films and TV. In fact, in the FBI story starring, who was it? Jimmy Stewart.
Yes. Yes.
Good old Brigadier Jimmy Stewart.
Yes.
J. Edgar Hoover was actually on the movie set telling the director how to direct the movie.
Yeah. I remember what they did to Jean Seberg.
Oh, yes, they drove her to suicide.
Oh.
Absolutely.
And she had been very supportive of the original Black Panthers, who were simply trying to get control back of their schools, make sure kids were able to eat. I don't see anything wrong with that, frankly.
Well, she wasn't so much a supporter of the Black Panthers themselves as she was a supporter of civil rights.
Yes. Okay.
At a time when the White House definitely wanted the blacks kept subordinate. And so they planted a phony story in a gossip column that Jean Seberg was pregnant by one of the Black Panthers. And she was pregnant, but by her husband, who was a French diplomat.
And they lost the baby.
They lost the baby.
Yeah.
The shock was so great.
Yeah.
Jean suffered a miscarriage. They held a funeral for the baby in open caskets, so everybody could see that, yeah, this was a white baby. There was no black in there. And Jean Seberg eventually committed suicide. Now, because her husband was a French diplomat and threatened to make this an international incident, for once in many, many, many years, the FBI actually came on out and they looked at the ground and they shuffled their feet and they said, well, yeah,
we lied.
We did it.
Yep.
We drove her to suicide. We're sorry. And we promise we won't do it anymore. And then proceeded to break that promise.
As always.
As always.
Oh, and there was an interesting little tidbit here. Illinois' billionaire governor dodges question about his wife leaving town to see out corona pandemic on their $12.1 million equine estate in Florida as he extends stay-at-home order to May 30th. Now, you've got to admire the brass of this guy.
Yeah.
Okay? Billionaire governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, dodged a question about the whereabouts of his wife during a press conference on Wednesday after it was reported that she left the state to ride out the stay-at-home from their $12.1 million Florida equine estate.
Emphasis on the ride.
Yes, yes. And Governor Pritzker refused to answer questions, stating his family should not be brought into politics, slamming the story as reprehensible, despite his wife, M.K. Pritzker, having an office in the Illinois capital and being a full-time staffer. In contrast, answering the question immediately after about businesses in the state disobeying the stay-at-home order, Pritzker warned that there were many ways they could be punished for opening too soon. Now, the report was that the First Lady had left the state, and it came after the governor's extended all Illinois stay-at-home order through May 30th and faced several legal challenges for doing so. Now, this is the second longest stay-at-home order in the United States. And the moneyed, when creating edicts for the rest of us, the little people, sincerely believe they are totally above the law on anything they might create.
Yes, absolutely.
And I haven't seen a better example of this than the pure crust, the absolute, just, well, you've got to obey the law. My wife doesn't have to.
Yes.
She's my wife. And we have money.
The laws for you little people.
Yes.
The ones with less than $1 million a year in income.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take our final commercial break here. And we'll be back with the last segment of our Powhana Friday show after these few words.
Okay.
This is too good to be true, except this time it is real. 100%. No joke. How about a $25,000 membership to Front Sight Firearms Training Facility as a thank you bonus for a one-time donation to RBN of only $500? It is a Commander lifetime membership with no yearly fees or dues. The training is free for the rest of your life with over 50 different classes. Then leave it to your designated beneficiary. You provide the approved firearm, holster, ammo, eye, and ear protection. Many features and bonuses are included, more than you would ever expect or believe. This is the ultimate graduation present, wedding gift, etc., etc. See the details. Go to RBN's webpage and frontsight.com to make it happen. You will hear this offer only on this radio network. Help keep RBN alive. Tell 5.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly,
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com, We make pigs fly. Cows, too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri. 417-932-6419.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
Welcome back to our show here and our last show for this last segment for Powhatan Friday. Claire, you have one more story for us, I believe.
Yes. And the more I'm observing Joe Biden on the campaign trail, the scarier I get about the paucity of choice that Americans have going into the November election. And it was titled, "That's the Spirit." Biden says he's just a transitional candidate to put the Mayor Petes of the world in office.
He's
Now,
a tranny? That shouldn't matter.
presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Biden said he will serve as a transitional candidate in the 2020 race, arguing his primary role is to funnel new voices and ideas into government rather than government himself. And he
Rather
made
than govern himself.
Himself, yes. He said, "I view myself as a transition candidate," Biden said during a virtual fundraising event on Thursday, adding, "My job is to bring the Mayor Petes of the world into this administration. And even when they don't come in, their ideas come into this administration. Mr. Vice President, a thought, please."
Well, no, what he's saying is it doesn't matter if I'm demented and incompetent.
Yeah. If voters didn't vote for Mayor Pete in the primaries but supported you instead, don't you understand that perhaps people in these Democratic primaries voted for your ideas over those of Mayor Pete? And folks, if
Well,
this
it doesn't matter anymore. He can't remember his ideas.
Good Lord. If this is
They
the,
let him hide his own Easter eggs this last
no,
Easter.
no. If this is the level of befuddlement Biden is demonstrating in May, heaven help the DNC when he gets into the home stretch in November. And right on target, we have the following article from drudge.com. And this is from The Hill. As Biden struggles, Hillary waits for the call, by Liz Peek.
Oh, I hate
opinion
being right all the
contributor.
time.
Doesn't it sort of feel awful like you've got the curse of Cassandra on you?
Yes.
You know. So as Biden struggles, Hillary waits for the call. And the View, okay, now let me get down here. And apparently, what she is looking for, we think,
Is the vice presidential
is the
nod.
vice presidential nod. Now, Mike, how soon, if Biden does win the election, do you think that they're going to have to replace him with the 25th Amendment? And that's never happened before, has it, in the history of American politics?
I don't believe it has.
No.
I think the reason there was a 25th Amendment is it was thought it might be necessary.
Yeah.
I think it came around the time of FDR
Yeah.
when he was in his final term before he died.
Right.
And they were very concerned because he was so sick that Eleanor was actually running the country,
Okay.
which was cool because Eleanor had a lot of really great ideas.
Yes, she did.
And, yeah, I imagine it would be a matter of only a few months.
Mhm.
Now, if Hillary steps into the presidency, I think somebody argued with me that this is not the case, but my understanding is that if she inherits the presidency in the first 2 years of the first term, she can only run for one other term. If she steps into the presidency in the second 2 years of the first term, she can run
okay.
for 2 more. There's the music time for us to get on out of here. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got a lot of interesting things to share with you. Spread the word of RBN. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. I can't tell you how important it is that we stay on the air right now. Have a really great weekend. Congratulations to those of you being allowed out of your houses. We'll see you Monday. Aloha, America.